Today, I'm gonna share with you the 10 things I wish I knew sooner when I was in my earlier 20s, because I'm still in my 20s, but when I was at the beginning. Number one, muito importante, you need to be the one to give yourself the permission that you're seeking in other people to actually start the things that you actually deeply want to do. You could start at the things you want to do the least and then work towards the things that you want to do the most, or you can start with the things that you want to do the most and then work towards the things that you want to do the least. That really depends on what you're talking about. Number two, your perfect ideas only start to matter when you actually start to do the idea. You could spend decades planning, theorizing, thinking, but as long as you think without taking action, it will live and die as a thought. And we don't want a graveyard full of unrealized ideas, right? Because some of them are meant to die, but we only find out when we try. And some of them are meant to grow, and most of them are going to grow into things that we perhaps didn't expect in the beginning, because sometimes how to get there is unclear, but where to go becomes clear as we start doing it. So please start. Is that you're actually going to learn quicker when you start doing it, which is why starting is so much more important than waiting for perfection. Having small tests to break up that bigger idea into smaller milestones makes it easier for you to actually start learning throughout the process and what is the most important for you. And also realizing that sometimes what we think we need to achieve ends up being different to what people actually want, especially when it comes to delivering a service or a solution to a challenge, right? Says we need feedback. Number three. This is for those of you that have an idea, that want to say something, that want to spread a message, you want to share something, you want to talk, but you're too afraid to start. This one's going to help for you. Your story is more valuable than you think, even when you've already heard your story in 100 different formats in other people. For example, the story of overcoming a challenge as a general theme is quite common in a lot of YouTube videos. In fact, it is a very core structure to the art of storytelling. However, who you are, is unique, and your background is unique, and people often look for personas that they can relate to. So we can have 10 people telling the same story, and the essence of the story will be the same. However, the background of the person, the things that they went through, the challenges that they had to overcome, the culture that they grew up in, maybe the circumstances that they had to deal with, vary across those 10 different stories, which is why it is so valuable for each of those 10 people to be telling their story, despite the fact that the core themes of that story are the same. When one specific person tells it to you, it lands with you more than it does with someone else. And that can be such a subjective thing that is so much more valuable for you to give yourself the chance just to talk, even if it doesn't reach anyone. You're already practicing your skills, you're already learning, and I experience this in real life as well. When I'm talking with someone, they'll share something that in that moment is so valuable to something that I am overcoming. And I have this time and time again where I'm just grateful when people share what's on their mind. Something always finds a way to teach me something. And so when you hold that back, you might have just been that one person that could have changed something for someone, what they're going through. And I think that that's a really nice thought to help you through any fears or thoughts that you might have about your story not mattering, or people have already told your story 1,000 times. Sure, but you haven't, right? You have a specific personality, you have a specific way of expressing ideas that make sense to very specific people, and so your message will reach the people that it needs to. I experience this in real life, and it happens online as well. And yeah, so you got this. I have a book. I feel so prepared. Okay. Number 4. You need to make time for your own things that you want, your projects, your wishes, your goals, your dreams, even just for planning them, planning to sit down and reflect. Why? Because when you consciously take time out to sit down and check up with yourself, how am I doing? How can I pivot choices in my life more towards where I would like? Then you make sure that you're staying in check. Number 5. You also really need to plan in free time with just nothing, because our brain needs to process things. And I used to be one of those people where I would just go, and I'm still kind of like that, but now I have free time, or I plan free time just with silence, because it helps me to process everything, and that is way more effective than just going the whole time. And your brain needs a break, so take breaks. For what? For who? Breaks? Psh, don't know, waste of time. Number 6. Don't worry too much what other people think. Why? Because most people are very concerned with the things that they're going through, the things going on in their life. So we always think that people care more than they do. And of course, there are people that genuinely care about you in your life. But the thoughts that you spend time with that hold you back from the things that you want are often not really the thoughts that end up happening in reality. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. However, people change, we change as well. So what we think about something might not be how we think about it in a few years. And I think the core idea that I always keep with myself and that I hold on to is that I am the one that needs to live with myself. That means that I need to take accountability for the things that I really value, that I want to make true to the extent in which I can, with the resources that I have and the energy that I have and the time that I have, and just do my best with what I have so that I can improve for the future. Because yes, we're human, we make mistakes, we need to learn, we need to adapt. Throughout that, I think it's really important when you learn to detach from too many opinions, because at the end of the day, you need to be okay with yourself and how you spend your time and what you give your time and your energy to. You know, when I was in my student days, my first or second year, I didn't really go out to party. I replaced it with exercising, I replaced it with researching, I replaced it with things that were important to me. Those are choices that I made because I put myself into a situation where I eventually learned about the personal development industry. I started reading things from people that I thought had good ideas, development, and how to prioritize your time and how to create a structure for yourself that allows you to have that time, even if it's only 5 minutes, 3 minutes in a day, even just to like meditate and reflect, or when I get a chance in the next week or the next 2 weeks and I have a moment for myself. What is the most important thing for me to do? I'm actually now able to say, yeah, I've done most of the things that I wanted to do, but more importantly, I've developed a mindset that will help me to improve and to stay uplifted thanks to that entire time that I've set out for myself to research all the things that when you can allow yourself to create that time for yourself, to learn from the people that are doing the things that you want, you will inevitably also be impacted by the mindset that got them there. And trust me when I say that sometimes the mindset that you learn is so much more valuable. You never know what you're going to learn. When you choose to focus on the things that are important to you, you will learn the lessons that matter to you, because it's going to be different for everyone. Number 7. You are allowed to let go of the past and change. You do not have to live in the past. It's the thoughts that you took on, it's the cultural norms, it's the cultural values. If you take your cultural values to the other side of the world where people think very differently, none of your behaviors are going to be perceived in the way that you think. That means that you have the opportunity to change, to learn new things, and it also means that you can start to create something for yourself in the future as much as you can, with a whole new direction that maybe has nothing to do with your past, and that's okay. So it's okay to let your past go, it's okay to adapt, it's okay to change, and you don't need to stick with something if it is really hurting you. For example, you can give yourself permission to leave as soon as you get the chance, or to find a way to leave as soon as you can, or find a way to make it happen. And if that is not the case, you can always start to change your thoughts about it. It helps, and it's a great way to see what it is that you're going through from a different perspective. It doesn't change the situation necessarily, but it does change how you wake up to it and how much energy you allow yourself to have going through it, to the extent where your mind is the thing that is keeping you uplifted throughout that experience. I hope that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if it doesn't. This one I love so much. This is number 8. I'm like running out of hands. I mean, I'm holding my book, so I'm just gonna use one hand. The way that you talk to yourself matters more than you think, and beyond that, the actions that you take leave the biggest impression. So let's say, for example, you have a thought, and I'm gonna use music specifically for this channel. So with music, for example, I used to have the thought of, I want to make a song, but I don't know how to sing, or I'd even think I can't sing. But when you say I can't, and you end the sentence with that, you're already canceling out any possibility and limiting yourself from even learning or trying in the first place. You can't learn if you don't try. So if you change your thoughts and then also change your actions, you can start to create different results. So for example, then thinking, I want to make a song, but I can learn how. So starting to change all your can'ts into I can learn how, and then see how far that takes you. You know, you can go through a process and figure out, and it's something you can be proud of because you did it. You know, you can go on YouTube, you can follow class for a few months, you can watch videos about how to open your voice, you can watch videos about how, I don't know, you can learn anything. And it's going to actually give you the experience of doing it. And the second that you start to change your thoughts from I can't to I can learn how, or I'm gonna figure out how, you already start to change your attitude towards it. When you have genuine interest in this topic, your brain will also make it easier for you to actually learn and absorb what is being taught to you. And that goes to point number 2, which is then you're saying I'm gonna figure out how. So the key point here is naming the exact activity, where you're gonna do it, when you're gonna do it, how often you're gonna do it, and how you're gonna do it. Are you gonna do it alone? Are you gonna do it using YouTube? Are you gonna a teacher? This way it becomes an actionable step, and that actually locks it in your mind more than if you just say I'm gonna learn how to sing. Because I could say the same thing in 10 years and I still could have not taken a single step in those 10 years. You need to hold yourself accountable for actually showing up and doing that thing, but you're more likely to do that when you already start to think about when and how you're gonna do that. Last few, there's 2 more. Last one, number 9. Silence is accepting, and also staying is accepting. You can think in your mind you're not okay with this, and you can not be okay with something, but as long as you stay in a situation, don't say anything about it, you're pretty much accepting what's happening. So if you're not okay with something, leave. Or if you're not okay with something, try your best to change it or talk about it. I wish I knew this sooner. I was not a great communicator. I'm still learning how to be a better communicator. If you stay in a situation, you're pretty much saying yes, whether that be a way in which you show up for yourself. So like, let's say for example, you're not okay with the fact that you're, for example, only exercising once a week, but if you keep staying in that situation and keeping yourself in that situation, you're pretty much saying to yourself that you're okay with it even though you're not. So you need to change it. You need to do it 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Or let's say you're staying in a friendship even though you don't like how that person treats you. As long as you stay or you don't say anything about it, nothing's gonna change. Same goes for a relationship, same goes for a situation at work, for example. As long as you stay in it, you don't say anything about it, it'll stay the same. So I'll give you an example. I had a colleague, he was a really nice guy. He was a specific type of person that was very like touchy. I have boundaries in what I do and don't like when it comes to people touching me, and I wasn't comfortable being touched. So I spoke up about it and it became a thing, which was uncomfortable. Yes, for the both of us, it was uncomfortable for me and it was uncomfortable for him because he had to change a habit that he was very used to. It felt uncomfortable because I had to say something about it, but also because every time it kept happening, like I'd have to bring it up again. Something was being done about it and it was being acknowledged and it changed. So that was actually really nice. It just made working together easier because I wasn't like, like annoyed or stressed, like a hyper aware state the whole time, because he was also like not unexpectedly coming to like touch me from like the most random angles where I was like, what, you know, I don't like it. Why am I explaining myself? I shouldn't have to explain myself. Number 10. No is no. You don't always have to explain yourself. Sometimes we think that we need to explain why no is no, but in many cases, not all cases, but in many cases, no should be enough. And the way in which you say no matters, but the fact that you say no and someone chooses to continuously disrespect the fact that you have said no or question why you're saying no, you don't always need to explain why you're saying no. No should be enough. And don't say yes when you mean no. That's it. You don't have to give someone your number if you don't want to. You don't have to hang out with your friend if you're exhausted. If she's your friend, she'll understand. It's okay to take a break if you are not okay with how something went. It's okay to say, no, I'm not okay with how something went. If you don't want to, it's okay to say no. And something that I would like to add to this is something that someone taught me. He was someone that actually asked me for my boundaries. Sometimes taking a break before answering a question when you don't know the answer can give you that second of time to even ask yourself if you're okay with it, yes or no, because sometimes we're so automatic in responding, especially if you feel more inclined to people please, that you haven't even taken that second to ask yourself if you're okay with it or not. So to start to become more aware of your actual boundaries and to give more respect towards yourself and towards the other person. Because when you think that saying yes is more respectful to no, I would disagree. I would say that sometimes it's actually more respectful to say no when you mean no towards yourself, also towards the other person. And I wish I had learned this sooner, because it would have made a lot of things easier in my life, but also in the lives of the people that I care about very much. You might think that always saying yes to someone is respectful. So not really, you're not respecting yourself, but you're also not respecting that other person, because that other person could have also spent that time with someone that actually did have the energy to go, that someone that actually did want to go, someone that actually they could have potentially, let's say they would have ended up going alone, they could have potentially met someone there that they would have had a great time with, you know, so they could have made a new friend. So I'm not saying cancel your plans with all of your friends. I'm just saying that it's okay to say no sometimes, and it's also, well, it's okay to say no as how many times you feel like you need to say no. So yeah. Thank you for watching this video. I would love to know which ones were the most useful for you, and I would also really like to know which ones you maybe have different experiences with. I'm definitely open to receiving feedback for you to say, well, I heard you say this, but I've experienced it otherwise. I'm very curious to read that. And if you disagree with one of them, then also let me know. I'm also really curious to hear what your reasoning is behind it and what your experience is behind it. Because yeah, I don't necessarily believe in ultimate truths. I'm sharing my experiences, and yeah, everyone can have different ones and everyone works in different ways. So some of these might speak to you, others might be total nonsense in your eyes, which is okay. I'm open to hearing what works for you. So let me know in the comment section, and see you in the next video. I hope you have a beautiful evening. I'm so lucky with the timing for this video because it's still light, so yay. Have a beautiful day.